What's up, everyone? Welcome to Man-Made Thoughts Brainstorm. It's the very first episode. How this is gonna work is I'm really just gonna turn on a mic and I'm gonna record whatever random thought that I have. And this random thought is what I would do if I ran Marvel. Okay, so while Marvel's on this kind of new comic book day cancellation, not sure what they're doing phase, I just had these random thoughts, and I just thought, what if I was the editor in chief? What if I was the head honcho? What would I do? Well, my first act would be to do a little bit of course correction. So, side note, before we even get into all this, make sure you hit that like button. Give me a little subscribe. If you are subscribed already, make sure you hit the little bell notification icon so that you can stay abreast of of all the stuff that I might talk about, any of these brainstorms that I might just randomly just pop up on YouTube because I just have something to say, a random thought that just came in my head while I was driving, whatever, you know? So, anyway, like I was saying, did you know how Sam Walton used to hire his managers? What he used to do is he used to invite all the new hires to his house, and he had this one telltale sign that he would use to know who was going to work out and who was not, or at least, in the beginning, who was going to work out. So he invited all the management to sit at the big boys table, and if they reached for the salt before they even tasted the food, he already knew who wasn't going to last. Why? Well, okay. As an aside, let me tell you. In the 90s, we had some of the lamest sayings of all time. This one right here is no different. It's you all up in the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. Same concept food-wise. But all that means is if you add something before you can even take it in or taste it or whatever, then you're bound to just mess it up. So, in that sense, what he was looking for was how can you make change to something that you haven't even tried yet? So, keep that in mind with this. All right. So, in normal circumstances, that would make sense. But this is a make believe scenario. So, let's get into it. Okay. So, I would like to get to the heart of the matter with a surgeon's precision right here. There are too many books on the shelves. What is it, like 92, 80 to 92 comics a month? And I get it. That ensures that you can be the recognized market leader because you have something for everybody. But unfortunately, the people writing those books don't think that they're for you. They think they're for different people who aren't buying the books. They just go to Wikipedia or something, or they watch somebody else on YouTube talk about the book, but they don't buy it. Because if they did buy it, then they would be able to say, hey, look, I got the book and I thought it was, but they're not buying it. And if they were buying it, then the sales would be a little bit higher than they actually are. So there's another saying that we got. Not all skin folk is kin folk. Kind of applies here. Okay. There are too many books on the shelves. There's too many events. Events used to be that big thing that got people up and excited to go out and buy comics. Now they happen every year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. You can hardly catch your breath before the next newest status quo is being brought in. What I would do is I would cut the number of events. Not one a year. Maybe it's needed, maybe. Maybe that could be every 3 years. It all depends on where the story's going. Also, if we do crossovers, there would be some kind of consistency. If Captain America, let's say, was in Wakanda in his own comic, then he couldn't possibly be in the crossover with the Avengers if he was in Wakanda unless the Avengers came to Wakanda and they were like, hey, Cap, we need you. Makes sense. But if he's laid up in the hospital or something, he shouldn't be in that crossover just normal while his own series has him doing his own thing. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to carry that forward. If somebody's out of the fight, they're out of the fight. They can't be in the crossover. I know what they're doing. They're trying to use their marquee characters. They're trying to capitalize on the popularity. But no, for the sake of storytelling, we got to get better at this thing. We got to get better at utilizing the assets that we have. We can build A-list characters from D-list characters. Just because you don't care about them now doesn't mean that they can't be built into people. Nobody cared about Cyborg before, but then they made him a member of Justice League, and now he's a solid B-list. Not gonna say he's A-list, but nobody cared before. Nobody was saying, "Oh, my favorite character is Cyborg." I don't think anybody's still saying that, but still, you know what I'm saying. And tie-ins. They are mostly supplementary. With that said, you could put some of these one-shot tie-ins in the graphic novel that's gonna get released with all of the issues in it. So why not? We can give people an incentive to buy the graphic novel. We throw the tie-ins in there. Granted, I know people are like, well, why would we throw the tie-ins in there if we know that they won't sell? How do we know they're going to sell? Because they already bought the event. If they already bought the event, just throw the tie-ins in the book. It's not going to matter anyway. There's plenty of graphic novels where you have no idea where the tie-in came from. It's just inside of the collection. No one knows where it came from. I remember Spider-Man Renew Your Vows had some ridiculous, like, little tie-in books in there, and I was like, what is this? This doesn't even make any sense. But it was in there. I didn't have to pay extra for it. So, that's aside. Anyway, on the comics end, one, you won't get to be an editor of any line unless you wrote successfully for that character. I get it. Sometimes sales slumps happen. But after 3 months, if you or your storyline keeps staying that way, flatline, you might be ineffectual. In this case, we will hold the line editors to the fire. Those editors will report to me monthly with what is going on in their shop. If sales are down, it will be the editor's fault. If the editor is doing all they need to do, then we'll go after the writer. The writer's doing what they need to do, then we go after the artist. It's gonna keep rolling downhill till we figure what is the disconnect. Why is no one caring about this particular storyline? Is it the writer? Is it the editor? Is it me? I'm the editor in chief. I got to take responsibility for this. If there's a sales slump, I'm going to lose my job. But I'm going to figure it out. Why is no one buying this comic? If it was selling, 120,000 last month and now we're down to 40,000 this month, what happened? Was that a number one? Was it a freak occurrence? Was there something that just happened spontaneously? We got to figure these things out. Otherwise, we're going to keep on churning out books that nobody's buying and then get a premature cancellation and then have to put in the writer section, thank you, this is not the end, but the beginning of something new, and then rewarding people who do subpar jobs with, another book. And no, we're not going to do that. Not in my Marvel. No. All right. So we want to have A, B, and C level writers on the team. But social justice issues, no. They clearly aren't selling, and no one wants to read about a superhero being emasculated at the expense of some woman or woe-stricken minority flavor of the month. Like, BLM protests have no place in Captain America. However, .com/, here we go, conspiracy theory bait like a billionaire trying to make moves by paying rioters to cause civil unrest to manipulate elections. That's a Captain America story. You've got a villain, you've got a human element with protesters thinking that they're protesting one thing, but not knowing they're just pawns, and you have a hero who can punch fascists who patrol the streets with weapons, shooting children and other dissenters. The story is all in the panache. It's the flair and the subtleties. You could tell that type of story if you want to, but you take bits and pieces. You don't have somebody like, Spider-Man being lectured on what it's like to be a black man in America. Or why? Because he doesn't care. He doesn't need to care. He has his own problems. He wasn't born with a silver spoon, so don't have a character talk to him as if he was made of money or he came out of money or he's not, still pretty impoverished, even though he had his own multi-million to billion-dollar industries, which for the sake of writing they just got rid of. But whatever. Like I'm saying, he wasn't born with a silver spoon, so let's not have him get lectured by random people on the street about how he's not this, how he's not following the identitarian laws. Spider-Man is the friendly hero. He saves anybody, regardless of their skin color. He does the right thing, even if it might come at a detriment to him. Let's stick to that. You can throw in the other stuff as icing on the cake, but we need to get some character development. What we need to mostly focus on is fun. Comics need to be fun. If they are all serious all the time, then no one will want to read them. Nobody wants to be depressed. You know what happened with Last of Us 2? It's a depressing game. And you kill off the character that everybody was waiting for because he wasn't in the trailers, except he was in the trailers, and they had you believing that that's my fan, that he was going to be in the game for the long haul. Nobody wants to play that. Nobody wants to, play through their main character's murderer to try to redeem them. And if you are going to do something like that, then you need to explain it a whole lot better. But I digress. If we have fun stories, people will come back to comics because their heroes are back. Grimdark, it has a place. But not everyone needs Grimdark. I mean, look, even Spider-Man Spider-Verse was a pretty grim and bleak story, but it was kind of fun and campy. They're guys that run around in colorful suits that beat up bad dudes who talk about their plans in broad daylight. It's not supposed to be a masterpiece of Rembrandt proportions. It's supposed to be fun, entertaining, cool, and satisfying. If you're going to a superhero comic with people wearing spandex and beating up other people who wear spandex, and you're looking for the next Pulitzer Prize or Nobel Peace winning thing, you're in the wrong industry. You're looking in the wrong place. That's just like going to like Kotaku and trying to get the hard hitting news. Or going to BuzzFeed and trying to get like the next Watergate scandal write up. It's not going to happen. And people will tell you that they are. Believe me, I looked on the internet. The people actually defend these guys, talking about they have some pretty good writers. All right, yeah, sure they do. Okay. Here's my biggest slash, though. There are no sacred cows. By that, I mean, I'm going to slash my boy Spidey's book. Spidey is my favorite hero of all time, but he has too many books. And because he has too many books, he can ultimately survive the test of time. Initially, we will see a revenue drop, and that's understandable. If you have 20 books and you cut 17 of them, then you're going to lose the money, but you're also going to save the money because you're not printing out as many books that clearly nobody's buying because, I mean, I know what they're doing. I know what they're trying to do. They meet with these game developers and these movie developers, and they tell them, these are the characters that you're going to use in the next movies, the next game. Here's what the story should be about. And then they start trying to push that character, like there's right now this big push for Miles Morales. That's the character that's going to be pushed now. Ever since 2018, there's been this big giant push. Miles Morales has been a character since 2011, since the death of Spider-Man and the Ultimate Marvel Comics, because they changed it from Ultimate Spider-Man to Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. And I know because I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man at the time, I was following all of this because Miles Morales was a completely different character than he is now. Back then, he was more interesting, but I digress. Not every spider person needs a book. Pete does not need to jump into everybody else's book to give him big ups. He doesn't need to be in Daredevil. He doesn't need to be in Punisher. He doesn't need to be in Amazing Mary Jane, which is actually pretty good. He doesn't need to be in Power Rangers. He doesn't need to be in Godzilla. He just needs to be in Spider Man's book until you need Spider Man to show up. Otherwise, you cheapen the effect of Spider Man showing up in your book. So, my solution? We kill the other spiders. It's divisive. I know. I know. But listen to me. Listen. Hear me out. I will get rid of all the other spider people because there only needs to be one Spider Man. I would introduce a story called Extermination. In it, basically some kind of force or people, they're killing uh spider people across the dimensions. I get it. It's almost close to Spider Verse, but I would bring back Judas Traveler and Spider Side. Shout out to everybody who knows those two characters. Specifically to do that thing. I will send Miles to either L.A. or give a non-spider name. Like the Brooklyn Spider or something. Not Spider Man. Give him his own identity, his own playground, his own area to establish himself as not being Spider Man, but having spider-like powers. You can do it. They've done it many times in the past. His own purpose is just to be a market grab for black people. Okay, I get it. At the very least, he symbolizes that Spider-Man cannot have his own title. That he, as Miles Morales, will always be in Peter Parker's shadow. So he has to get a rebrand. And Spider-Gwen, no more. Her design is cool, but she doesn't have any competent writers who can't try to force their own stuff on there. So until we can figure out what to do with her, back to wherever world and universe you came from, we can shelf you. We don't need you to do anything. Maybe you can be on some kind of C-list team with I don't know, Misty Stone and Colleen Wing or something. I don't know. They had Daughters of the Dragon. You could figure something out with Spider Gwen, but you don't need Spider Person all the time. You don't need more Spider People. That's just a cash grab to get more money. Um, all right, Peter Parker. He gets with Mary Jane. He gets married. No kids, just Mary Jane and Spidey's lives of being together. I feel like the cop out is always to give him children, specifically a daughter. I say ditch the kids, keep the marriage. Unfortunately, J.J. Abrams and his son Henry, they like to change up the status quo. Did good thing, gave him a son. Bad thing, kill Mary Jane or something. I don't know because the series is not finished. I think it's like indefinitely just sitting there in space somewhere. I don't know. Okay, next thing, reboot the X-Men. We're gonna make them heroes, but underdogs who still view humans with awe and still have to save them, even though they persecute them. We're not gonna have them look upon them with contempt. We're gonna have them look upon them as, look, I get it. You guys don't like us. You don't want anything to do with us. However, what is the best way to show somebody that you care than to keep consistently saving their lives when they are in danger? It's sacrifice. It's not in your best interest to save these people, but I believe in the great man theory that there's always a great man to do something that's going to help somebody else, and that person will inspire other people. Because if you go out there and if people think that you're a villain or a terrorist, and you keep going out and enacting these ways, you keep acting like these crazy things, then people are going to label everybody that way. But if you go out and you show people, hey, not everybody's like what you think, you just shattered that person's like rose tinted glasses. But if you write them how they are now, where they're just like, we don't really want anything to do with anybody, We got all these drugs on our island, and we're gonna keep them embargoed up on our thing. Then who wants to deal with mutant? Like now you're a terrorist. You know, you're not even helping people. You're helping them at an extent to to extort them out of like, hey, leave us alone and we'll give you this stuff. But if you don't leave us alone, then we're going to, keep all this life saving treatment for ourselves that we don't need because we don't get sick. What kind of sense does that make? You're terrorists now. But whatever. They took a page out of Wakanda, apparently. Okay. So, what about a story like this? Maybe there's a cult that worships mutants as saviors so that they commit horrible crimes in their names or sacrifice people or something. Or if that's too much, have them meet a mutant that has the power to take people's essence and put it into other mutants' bodies. In other words, Beast and Wolverine, Wolverine and Beast. At the end of the day, they learn a valuable lesson of not to underestimate each other's abilities and that sort of thing. Modern comics try to beat you in the face with messages that really don't need pointing out and all this stuff. We get it. The X-Men was like some kind of, um, you know, I forgot what the word was, but it was kind of like a metaphor for racism. Okay, we get it. But lazy writers do that. Lazy writers just keep saying, we're going to use this. They're going to be outsiders. They're going to be different from everybody else. That's what a lazy writer does. But you can try something different. That you could do what they do with Superman. He's an outsider, but he's not an outsider. He's an outsider because he knows he's from another planet, but he still chooses to live as a human because that's what he is. Even though he's a Kryptonian, he knows humanity. He knows humans. He doesn't know Krypton. He tries to get along with other Kryptonians, but it's not like they just accept him as one of them because he never was on Krypton except, leaving there as a baby. He knows nothing about Kryptonian culture and all that stuff. He had to learn it secondhand versus his cousin who actually was there, grew up, watched the destruction and all that stuff. It's different, you know. It's different. You could do something like that, but they won't. If we ever have movies coming out, then we'll just be upselling graphic novels. If the movie is based off a popular storyline, then we need to make sure that that particular story gets the top billing because money makes sense. I know that there are currently, how should we say, customer service problems in this industry. Our artists and creators will conduct themselves in ways that bring credit to our studio and our company. Maybe it's the military in me, but people don't buy, listen to, or work well with people that they don't like. That's not to say fear, because I feared my drill sergeant, and he was the driving reason why I wanted to do great in basic, so I would not have to see him anymore. No, I mean detesting, as in fear, like detesting someone. Toxic environments are not welcome here. If you want to slide in the DMs of some man or woman, don't bring it to the studio. Keep that outside. When you're at Marvel Comics, you're gonna conduct yourself like you got some sense. We don't want your workplace drama. We don't want your offstage drama in the workplace. So don't bring it in there. Because if you cause one of my female writers, as if you're male, if you cause one of my female writers to, decide she does not want to work on a book and she's turning out great work and you're ruining it for her, then one of you's got to go. And I can't have that because that's bad for my bottom line. And so if I have to lose two great writers because one person couldn't just leave it alone, somebody is going to get the axe. Okay, so you will know, but look at my plans right here. I'm just centering on this that Marvel Comics will be a brand of excellence. I wouldn't go as far as to make, people wear suits, but studies do show that productivity increases when people look good. A suit looks professional. And speaking of professionalism, if you get caught talking smack to a customer, you're done. Your editor better reel you in because if you cost us a customer, I will see to it that you never work for us again. And I get it, you might be like, oh, that's toxic. Well, think about it like this you're costing us money. Like, you're gonna go out and yell at customers, cussing at them and stuff on Twitter and all that stuff, telling them books aren't for them and all that stuff, call them out of their names, they're alt-right or whatever they are, just because they disagree with the direction that you took in a book that they love. Just acknowledge it. Just be like, hey, I appreciate, that you took the time to read the book. We're just going to have to agree to disagree on this subject because this is what I feel about the character that I'm writing now. You might not like that direction, but I apologize if it's not what you want. You know, what happened to those days? We'll go under my regime. We're going back to them. Now, obviously, sometimes customers just want to complain. Some of them just don't want a consolation prize. They want to get out there and try you online. But we're not going to insult them. We're going to take the higher ground. We could just say, well, thank you for your consideration, but unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. If you like the story, just stick with us. We're trying to go somewhere with this. If you don't like the story, then unfortunately, it just isn't for you. But please continue to support us because you've liked what we've been doing so far. We make comics, not drama. We will grow our talent and we will listen to the artists and the writers. If they have a good idea and it works as a logical forward for the character, then yeah, we're going to try it. One shots will be the proving ground for those ideas. So, how I would have it is that if you got a good idea and your writer's like a pretty sophomore to rookie writer, we put in a regular one shot. That story that they wanted to see. If customers, if they're like, oh man, this is my favorite writer here, I'm gonna follow them to this one shot, and the series picks up, and yeah, we will pick that up because obviously you've proven you can sell a book. You can sell a book that's completely irrelevant to the book that you already have. But if you can't sell that one shot with that story, don't worry about it because we ain't gonna do it. It's just that simple. Now, let's get to digital comics. Digital comics will be 99 cents. Why? Because there's no reason to price the same as physical copies. Why are we going to outbox ourselves? I get it. You're trying to maximize revenue. However, it's kind of stupid so that like somebody who goes to Comixology has to pay the same amount as somebody who has to drive to the comic book store. Not everybody lives in like 10 miles of a comic book store. Some people have to ride a bus across town to get there. You have to factor in all the people who like comics but can't get there. Comic books are like the last bastion for geekdom. We can't forsake the people who are going to go there. We need to give them a reason to go to the comic book shop. So if the comic book shop is going to sell the comics, let them sell them at full price. But the digital comics, if people just cannot get there, like whatever, due to COVID-19 or something like that, if they just can't get there, digital comics should be cheaper. That's just my opinion. You're not losing anything by making it cheaper because more people will be attracted to a cheaper price point for a book. And if they don't like it, they only spend $1 on it. If I spent only $1 on something and I knew I could get it for $4.99 somewhere else, I really can't be all that mad, which means the reviewers of regular YouTubers out there, they really can't be all that mad either because it's a 99-cent book that you would have paid $5 for. Now, does that mean that people would more fluctuate towards having the digital version? I don't know. The collector in me wants to go out and have a physical floppy. I like having a book in my hand, but some people don't. Again, that's a matter of subjectivity, but I think that you can have incentives. Maybe you can have a kiosk set up at a comic book shop where you can download it if you like, but you can also go to the comic book shop and buy the physical version too. It doesn't hurt. Maybe we can give comic bookshops a certain amount of digital codes, and they can price the book where they see fit. And I'm not talking about like we're going to price it over to make up for it. Like if there's a special edition. No, if it's special edition, who cares if it's special edition? It's digital. It's zeros and ones. So no one's going to pay $7.99 on an app for something that would be $7.99 in the store because it comes with extra stuff and additional art. But you're trying to tell me that I should pay $7.99 for zeros and ones for additional pay? Get out of here. Get out. That ain't gonna happen. So that's why I say, even though the cost of making the comic is more money, the deal would be too good to pass up. When I'm on Comixology, I look for cheaper comics because it's digital. I don't value it the same way that I value a physical thing because that physical thing can be taken from me versus the digital. I have to be caught in the act. And if somebody deletes it, I can just go and re download it again. It kind of cheapens the experience. So I would give him a cheaper price. That's just me. Okay, so the biggest thing that we do is we distribute our own comics. We don't need Diamond to do it for us. We will do it ourselves. We will have our own little regional distribution center set up. We might even partner up with somebody like, I don't know, have our own from Marvel.com. You'll be able to order from us. We will fulfill. So, you know, that would just, it'd be a little bit of a logistical thing, but we could do it. We could set up hubs for regions and we could still get our books to all these regions from there. Like you got a north, a south, a east, and a west, and we can set up something. Or we can use somebody else's existing services to do the same exact thing to get them to comic book stores. Um, like I would say, maybe we partner up with Amazon, pay them a cut. You're already working with them on Comixology anyway. Renegotiate a deal where we use some of their little warehouses, and we've already got the books already and everything waiting. So we send the stuff out to them, they get it out to you. It's just that simple. Will you get it on day one? Probably not. but 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 it's fast. Or you might get it because your local comic book shop will have it maybe like I don't know, a day or two prior to the actual date that it's going to come out. So you could still go and get it on from the comic book store. Maybe you could branch out to other stuff, but when you start getting into like putting it at Walmart and putting it at Costco and all that other stuff, you run into additional costs and shrink. People stealing your books because they don't care about it. I mean, clearly all you gotta do is just rip the back cover off that has the barcode or the front cover wherever you put it, and then boom, now I have a free book. So yeah, people are more inclined to do that, but really, who is still a comic book? I digress. So we're gonna eat that cost. We can make the money back on the back end when and if the shutdowns occur. We can also have physical copies to auction off in support of good things like helping an employee through hard times or veterans assistance and other goodwill opportunities. We'll never forget that we are a comic book company first and foremost. That's what I would do if I ran Marvel. That's how I would do it. I know that business is a little bit more complicated like that because you have to, kowtow to your shareholders, your stakeholders need to feel like they're the most important things at the company. But in my fictional scenario, everybody's happy with this arrangement and we're going to go forward. Now, granted, I know I sound like um, I forgot his name, but he was trying to, get everybody like in line, get everybody in line and stop this juvenile behavior that comic book industry has, that they believe they're above the rules of the normal workplace and all this stuff. And what they do, they, cause backlash for him, drawing his hometown being blown up and stuff in a comic book and, that sort of thing. So, no, we have to uh, take this back because it's still professional. The eyes of the world are on these characters and stuff. It doesn't make any sense how these characters are grossing billions of dollars a year, but nobody wants to buy the source material, which is the comics, because no one cares. We can make them care. Manga, people care about manga, and they also care about anime. But anime movies aren't making big money. But Captain America and his friends, they are. So if we can figure out that magic, that sweet sauce to get people going to the movie theater and then going with their wife and kids brother, sister, wherever, to the local comic book shop and saying, I want to get into comic books. I saw this cool movie and it looked really cool, so I want to read a Spider-Man comic book. I want to read an Iron Man comic. I want to read a Captain Marvel comic. For whatever reason you want to read Captain Marvel, go right ahead. It is one of the most action-packed comics out there, though. Except for number 17, Fuke it. But anyway, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you would do if you ran a multi-million company like that, or you were under the umbrella of Disney. I know that there had to be beholden to the stakeholders and everything, but what would you do if you had to run Marvel, or you got the opportunity to run it? If you like videos like this, which is not really a video, but just more like me just blah, 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 then, let me know, and I'll do more of them. But, like, share, comment, subscribe, stay to the end. You can actually pop this one on in your car and use it as a podcast. But anyway, I will catch y'all later. I'm Quatez, and this was a Brainstorm. Peace.